people do not feel that you are tackling the cost of living. They don't feel a benefit. And a huge number of people, millions of pensioners, have had money taken away from them. You're about to take money away from a huge number of people who are on PIP payments, welfare benefits, and you promised that you would bring down energy bills by £300, but it's partly because energy bills have gone up on your watch. That inflation has gone up. Where's the good news?
I didn't say it balances out. What I said is pensioners are better off because we've increased pensions more.
You took away up to £300 from pensioners, and you keep telling them you should feel better off because the pension's better. You never said in your manifesto you were going to take away the winter fuel allowance from pensioners.
We said we were going to commit to the triple lock. So
yeah,
we've given an extra 500.
But then you took money away from them. Right, Mr. Reid, are you going to change on the winter fuel allowance?
I would love to get a word in because I think it's really important that pensioners and other people are able to hear the other side of this argument, which is that we have put pensions up by more than changes to the winter fuel allowance this year, but that will happen every single year under this government.
Reid starts with the wrath on doorsteps, not with regard to water policy. She fixes the minister on a single test. Are seniors richer or poorer? While irritation builds in the studio, Reid reaches for numbers and the triple lock, insists the figures add up. Make sure you like and subscribe.
The Environment Secretary, Steve Reid, joins us now. Steve Reid, you are here to talk about water and water companies. Labour government came to power pledging to tackle the cost of living crisis. Right. Inflation has just gone up.
Well, as the Chancellor, you were reporting the Chancellor's words earlier on, it's disappointing to see these inflation figures today. We all know how much people are hurting through the cost of living crisis, but nobody said you could fix the problems with the unstable economy that we inherited overnight. No one said you could do it overnight. But if you look at the situation in the round, Susanna, we've had 4 reductions in interest rates in a row over recent months. That's cutting people's mortgage payments. We put the national minimum wage up, £1,400. That's more money in the pockets of the very lowest paid people in our economy.
Yeah, but you took with one hand while giving with the other, and you're saying, well, it balances out. The thing is that if you're on more than 11,500, you might still think of yourself as not a very well-off pensioner. And I ask again, it is a massive political issue. Diane Abbott says it's like the poll tax.
Voters feel worse as the host replaces spreadsheets for grocery trolleys. Reid responds with macro data, believing the quarterly numbers will ease weekly wallet suffering.
That the winter fuel allowance is the issue that comes up on doorsteps. It came up in the by-election that you lost to Reform as the #1 issue. She wasn't even sure she was able to say yes when I asked if Sir Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister at the next general election. She simply said a sort of lukewarm, I hope so. Are you going to reverse on winter fuel payments for pensioners?
Are we looking at some kind of existential split in the Labour Party? We know that this letter has been signed by over 100 Labour MPs protesting about these welfare cuts. We spoke to Diane Abbott about that. This is a very interesting comment that she made about the Prime Minister moving away from traditional Labour values.
Well,
you know what? I am a Labour Party member, but I believe in Labour Party values. And the problem that Keir has at this point is a lot of MPs, but also Labour voters, people who have voted for Labour year in, year out, are a bit worried that Keir is moving away from Labour values.
Say that in her view, the Prime Minister is more of a manager than a leader. Is Labour still Labour?
I've been a Labour Party member since I was 16. And putting more money in pensioners' pockets, which is what we're doing, is a Labour thing to do. Raising the national minimum wage is a Labour thing to do. Cutting interest rates so that people can get a better chance to get a foot on the housing ladder, an affordable mortgage, is a very, very Labour thing to do. Freezing fuel duty so people aren't paying more at the pump is a Labour thing to do. I'm proud of what this government is doing.
Internal dissent turns into outside pressure. Reid and Madeley weaponise Abbott's alert to challenge Labour's identity. Reid lists Labour things, but the winter fuel U-turn dilemma remains unresolved. Make sure you like and subscribe.
So do you want to just tell us what your announcement is, and then we'll get to the cost of living?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, people are furious about the situation of water. We had record levels of sewage in our rivers, lakes and seas under the last year of the Conservative government. We're taking action against that, and what I'm able to announce today is that we have now got 81 prosecutions and criminal investigations underway against the water companies for the levels of pollution that we're seeing going into our waterways. That is the highest number of prosecutions ever. And of course, with sentences up to 5 years, the intention is that there will now be accountability in the system where there was none before, and the water companies will no longer profit from pollution in the way they were able to under the previous government.
Can you clear up some misunderstanding that there seems to be about this? These prosecutions, are they for lying and concealing the pollution that's been taking place, or are the prosecutions simply because the pollution took place?
It's a whole range of things. We changed the law earlier this year, so where there are cover-ups, that can now be criminally investigated and prosecuted. That wasn't possible before, but also there were not enough investigations going on because the regulator didn't have enough resources. The previous government cut their resources in half. We've increased that at the budget by 9%, but we've also got the polluter pays principle that we're bringing into play. So where there is a successful prosecution of a water company, they will now pay the cost of that prosecution. The resources goes back to the regulator, and that allows further prosecutions. That's why we're prosecuting so many more than was the case under the previous government.
Reid attempts to bring the discussion back into his comfort zone, hard rhetoric on water companies. Still, every triumph he notes seems disconnected from furnaces, bills, pensioner envelopes.
Because we've increased pensions more.
You took away up to £300 from pensioners, and you keep telling them you should feel better off because the pension's better. You never said in your manifesto you were going to take away the winter fuel allowance from pensioners.
We said we were going to commit to the triple lock. So
but then you took money away from them. Right, Mr. Reid, are you going to change on the winter fuel allowance?
I would love to get a word in because I think it's really important that pensioners and other people are able to hear the other side of this argument, which is that we have put pensions up by more than changes to the winter fuel allowance this year, but that will happen every single year under this government because we're committed to the triple lock.
Mr. Reid, is your point that pensioners just don't get the message that they're better off? Because I would have thought pensioners themselves know.
Better off by the end of this government than when this government came in. We are determined to make pensioners better off. Of course I understand. Everyone is hurting because of the cost of living crisis that we inherited. Of course I recognise that some of the decisions are difficult for people, but we're doing the right thing by putting more money in pensioners' pockets, not taking money away from pensioners. By the end of this,
Reid loops to her original charge. Cuts are still cuts. Reid runs the £500 phrase again. Viewers are free to pick which of arithmetic or actual experience prevails in the debate. Susanna Reid turns the minister's announcement into an interrogation on trust, living cost hardship, and Labour's own backbench mutiny across 5 beats, so demonstrating that in morning TV the numbers tell just half the story. Let us know what you think down below in the comments.